Hey guys, and welcome back to another Arma 3 video. Main operating bases, more commonly referred to as MOBs, are often a unit's preferred operating location as they typically provide security from attack, space to conduct training, as well as planning and execution of operations. In this video, I'm going to cover 15 of what I believe are the best air bases in Arma 3 and why I chose them. If there's any you believe deserve more attention, please comment them down below, because man, I want to get my hands on those things. At number 15, we've got Wake Island Airbase. Wake is old but gold, having been around for quite some years now, and is one of the first modded terrains I remember downloading. The airbase is massive, and the runway equally so, which helps aircraft that require longer than normal takeoff lengths. Still though, you could easily land on one end and be taxiing for a hot minute. The base has enough aircraft parking for 2 to 3 fighter squadrons and even a squadron of heavy aircraft. There is a small area for rotary detachment and enough support and maintenance facilities on the base to ensure any aircraft that comes through has what they need to stay flying. At number 14, we've got what was many of our first Arma 3 stomping grounds, and that is Stratis Airbase. Stratis is almost the complete package when it comes to airbase necessities. It is easily defendable with only one main entrance and a good view of the surrounding hillsides, though they do have the high ground, so, there is that. It would take a combined arms assault to bring Stratis down, but it can be done if base security forces are caught slipping. Where Stratis is lacking is in the realm of large aprons for heavy aircraft. While the runway is long enough to support C-17s and other strategic airlifters, they are limited on parking space and should only treat Stratis as a transient location instead of a main operating airbase. The apron is large enough to support and sustain a few medium tactical airlifters like C-130s, however. The airbase only has a small heliport with 2 dedicated landing pads, though the central staging areas of the base are large enough to build makeshift ones should the need arise. Pilots need to be wary of towers and wires in the area when taking off and landing. Acting primarily as a fighter training base for the AEF, its secondary mission is that of a staging area for the NATO forces in the Mediterranean theater of operations, and was critical to retaking the island of Altis during the Eastwind incident. At number 13 is the Kingdom of Regero main airbase, from the map of the same name by Icebreaker. This base has everything: plenty of ramp space, a 1.5 kilometer runway, and plenty of helipads for rotary operations. Icebreaker's maps all have plenty of air bases scattered throughout his terrains, which allow for multiple operational approaches. Most of them have enough room for a small contingent of fighters, helos, and vehicles, making terrains like Regero a complete sandbox package for those that want a variety in their missions. At number 12 is Cold War Rearmed III Malden Islands. Easily one of the best Cold War terrains available, the air bases here are perfect replicas of their Operation Flashpoint versions brought up to Arma 3 standards. While not designed to house wings of fighter aircraft, they're mainly meant to be quick forward staging areas for quick response forces and light garrison units, which is perfect for the size of this terrain considering it's all of the Operation Flashpoint maps in one. At number 11 is Mull Kintyre Airbase from the map of the same name. This is definitely a favorite of mine, as the runway is massively long at over 2 kilometers, and the support ramps and aprons are huge. This base has room for plenty of fighter squadrons, helos, and heavy aircraft with room to spare. The AI will navigate the taxiways no problem, meaning you can have AI aircraft taking off and landing all you want to enhance your immersion. Overall, Mull of Kintyre is one of my favorite terrains because it's like a less wooded Livonia, which is great for your frame rate. And number 10 are the bases on the Australian map. Now, I'm going to cop out here and just say that all of them rock, and they honestly do. The terrain is massive and has over 10, yeah, you heard me, 10 air bases to operate from. And the best part is the AI works great on all of them, meaning you can have transient aircraft flying to and from multiple destinations, helping your airspace feel alive. This also means that you have a ton of options operationally when it comes to mission making. The ramp spaces are plentiful, the taxiways are simple yet realistic, and the runways are all long enough to support everything from fighters to heavy aircraft. The larger air bases like Perth and Sydney have large civilian terminals that are really awesome, lending a little realism to the bases, as many real-life air bases are often shared with civilian airport sides. At number 9, we've got Aiolos Airbase on the Habantes training terrain. You guys know I'm a sucker for a good training terrain, and this one is one of the best. Habantes' first major update added Aiolos Airbase jutting out of the mainland, much like Stratis. The base is designed to hold only a few fighter aircraft and a couple helipads. Operationally, this makes sense as this is a training base and associated terrain. The base also has support facilities and aviation fuel to help immerse the player into a lived-in location. The runway is just long enough to support everything up to heavy aircraft like the C-17, but anything requiring a longer runway should be avoided. The AI also has no problem landing, taxiing, and taking off from the base, provided the taxiways are clear. At number 8 is Captain Kevin Hagen Airbase in the Canadian Forces Base Moosehead terrain. Honestly, this is one of my favorite air bases of any modded terrain. The amount of aircraft this base can hold is staggering for Arma 3 and is far more reflective of real-life counterparts as we cram multiple fighter squadrons and different types of aircraft into one base. Sporting a massive primary apron that can store upwards of 4 C-17s with plenty of wingtip clearance, or even an entire squadron of C-130s, allowing for a massive logistics element. The fighter apron is also large and spacious, capable of storing at least 1 or 2 training or transient squadrons. The terrain itself is large and fairly open, so FPS is fantastic for flying. This is one of my most highly recommended modded terrains. At number 7 is Pleiku Airbase from Cam Lao Nam terrain. The SOG Prairie Fire CDLC came with, hands down, the most detailed terrains at the time of its launch, and that largely still holds true to this day. Pleiku is the showcase US airbase that was used extensively in the Vietnam War, launching damn near every type of aircraft in the US inventory. The base includes a ton of fighter pits, more helipads than the Army knows what to do with, and beautifully populated areas with period-specific objects, vehicles, and gear to really immerse you into that Vietnam mission. At number 6 is an old favorite, LYTHIUM Airbase. This base was one of the first modded terrains I remember flying on with an Arma 3 unit, and it was a blast. Sporting a full line of aircraft hangars along its primary taxiway, a 1.5 kilometer long runway, and plenty of apron space on both sides of the runway for heavy aircraft, LYTHIUM Airbase has everything you could want. The support facilities at the center of the base are robust enough to support any kind of milsim operation, and the nearby helipads means soft forces can get up and go quickly when called. LYTHIUM has always been one of the pretty terrains with lighting not other maps have had, and I always loved flying on it. At number 5 is a classic that has stood the test of time, and that is Chernarus Airbase. I'm including this one purely for nostalgia's sake because I can promise you that so many people have spent hundreds, if not thousands, of hours operating from this base in their playtime on Arma. The base sports 8 total aircraft hangars and a well-known ATC tower, as well as support facilities for garrison troops. While the apron isn't large enough to support strategic airlifters like the C-17, tactical airlifters like the C-130 are perfectly able to land, resupply, and be on their way again. Chernarus Airbase is the perfect bed-down location for aerial operations in and around the Chernarus region. At number 4, we have a favorite of mine, and that's Tanoa International Airbase. Honestly, most of the airbases on Tanoa absolutely fuck, but the International Airbase has it all. A large apron to support heavy aircraft, support and maintenance facilities for additional aircraft, and a large covered hangar for a single, heavy, or multiple fighter storage. The runways on Tanoa are beautiful and are some of my favorite. And honestly, flying in the tropical islands is one of the most relaxing things you can do in Arma 3, in my honest opinion. At number 3, we have one of the best airbases Bohemia has ever made, and that is Altis Airbase. Modeled after Lemnos International Airport in Lemnos, Greece, Altis will always be my first love as far as Arma 3 airbases go. Her huge apron in front of the terminal serves both commercial and military heavy aircraft with ease, and even has space to create your own hangar and flightline system if you so desire. There's also a section of the base partitioned off with tent hangars lining the taxiway for fighter aircraft permanently stationed on Altis. Additionally, there is a secondary support facility attached via taxiway to the northeast that has more garrison support facilities and maintenance hangars for aircraft. Altis will always be one of my favorite stomping ground for aircraft in Arma 3. At number 2 is another close love of mine, and that is Malden Airbase. Truly one of the most beautifully recreated terrains from Operation Flashpoint days. Malden's Airbase has been given an incredible facelift. A large apron that can store multiple fighters and helos on its ramps sits center stage, with 3 nearby maintenance hangars. Towards the north are round parking spaces that can store everything from fighters, helos, and tactical airlifters if needed, with plenty of taxiway space, and further beyond that are more canvas hangars for fighters on alert status. The main support body of the base has all the facilities required to conduct operations, and honestly, it looks really well put together. Flying along its beautiful beaches is something that never gets old. And finally, at number 1, we've got Vidda Airbase. My god, Blood simply outdid himself with this one. Probably one of the most gorgeously textured airbases anywhere. The taxiways and wet concrete are beyond beautiful, and the immersion I feel when taxiing, taking off, and flying around this beautiful terrain is second to none as far as modded terrains go. Blood has modeled Vidda off of real-world locations in Norway, and this gorgeous terrain is a labor of love that has stood the test of time when it comes to beautiful textures. Capable of storing about a full squadron of fighters and even a large helipad for rotary aircraft across the runway, Vidda is one of the must-have terrains that every Arma 3 flyer should take to the skies in at least once. Well guys, that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even found a new airbase to enjoy yourself. As always, I want to thank my incredible patrons and those incredibly sexy channel members for their support of me and my channel. 2023 has been a great year for the channel, and I've loved all of the interaction we've had this year. Thank you all again for your time and for watching, and I will see you next year and in the next video.